Okay, so real-time data and particularly data analytics, I guess, and insights. Uh, Everyone's there. It's described as the new oil. That's a fairly cliched phrase now, I guess, but everyone's trying to do it, including the industrial sector. Um, is that true? I mean, what's the reality? Are people, worried they're getting left behind, or is there still time to catch up? Just what does the landscape look like, if that's possible?
Yeah, so the industrial automation world is seeing a data explosion. There is data coming, all sorts of data coming from a furnace, a temperature data, to a material movement in a warehouse, to all the digital data coming from the smart meters. So this real-time data is what will help create the digital twin, doing AI on top of it, and the whole edge to cloud computing. So the real-time data is what will give the whole holistic view across the whole value chain and the supply chain, and that will help to the overall optimization and improve the efficiency. As our customers are using it across the real-time data, whether it is the manufacturing, the construction, food and beverages. And there's a lot that our customers are at like various maturity state that we see. But to give an example, Starbucks is using real-time data across their plant floor to monitor their inventory and have a holistic view of that information.
And AI is here to help, I guess, cutting through some of the hype at the moment. Its real value perhaps is in helping to build tailored solutions for individual organizations or indeed wider industry sectors, rather than the moment we've obviously got this Gen AI sort of, I won't say obsession, but it's less targeted generic applications. So is it right to say that the value eventually in AI will be in these more specialist applications?
It's really great that you kind of pose the question like that, because we use the term AI often as a kind of umbrella term for some mythical technology, but actually it's a lot of separate technologies. There's technologies like machine learning, there's computer vision, obviously there's large language models, and I think in the current kind of zeitgeist, LLMs is the hot topic to talk about, but actually there's a huge amount of capability that's sitting kind of waiting to be tapped into by using reinforcement learning or machine learning. So those kind of disciplines of artificial intelligence are still very, very powerful and maybe getting underrepresented in the public domain, but they're not getting underrepresented in the industrial domain. So for example, customers of ours are using machine learning techniques in order to train artificial intelligence to do things like predictive analysis, where they can use the data that they're getting from all of their kind of pumps and rotating machinery and expensive and heavy equipments, and they can use that data to predict future potential failures, which is a massive cost saving for them. They can do up-ahead maintenance runs. They can avoid any kind of catastrophic failure, which could create a downturn in the plant or could shut down business for a period of time. So these kind of AI applications are quite bespoke in some of those areas. But then if we go out of that, you think about large language models, they're really becoming quite transformational. We're already developing technologies that help a customer to sit in front of their PC and say, can you show me a 3D model of my wind farm? Or can you show me how to optimize the lowest energy output or the highest energy outputs from any turbine this week? And it's using natural language to be able to give the customer access to it. And all of that really depends on having a really solid understanding of where the data is coming from and kind of what condition it's in. So we are seeing our customers using these strategies extensively. I'll give you a great example. A city of Salem, which is in Oregon, is a small city which sits next to a large body of a freshwater body. And in that freshwater body, in the recent years, there's been large algae growths in that, and that can create toxins which can contaminate the supply to the city. And what they've done is they've taken our Connect Data Services platform, our industrial data platform, and they've basically taken water depths, turbidity, ambient temperatures, weather forecasting, satellite imagery, lab testing results that they've conducted, and they've blended that using data science and AI tools like machine learning in order to be able to predict future algae growth and get ahead of it and do kind of do maintenance work to avoid that happening. So there's some very real applications of these kinds of technologies.
I guess it'd be good to understand, or at least if you can reiterate, because I know you've already sort of covered it to a certain extent, just why is real-time accurate data acquisition so important, and what is it that AI brings, that how can AI help in achieving this?
Sure. So one of the things that's really important here that I don't think gets enough focus, honestly, is data accuracy. So it's okay to say, I'm going to use AI to solve my problem. But if you've got very poor quality data and you throw it at it, you're just going to get bad results. And if you start relying on those bad results, you're in a real, situation. So there's a lot of effort. I mean, I think it's really underestimated the effort required by our customers in the industrial space to be able to clean their data, because a large percentage of the time at the start of a project, like a digitalization project, for example, the state of the data or the accuracy of the data is somewhat unknown. And it's only the process of revealing where the gaps are in the data or the poor quality of data that you realize you don't really have a solid platform on which to layer all these smart AI things. So I do think that there's quite a lot of focus on the outcomes of AI, but actually there's a really long project ahead of many of our customers in order to create a data platform that's clean and ready for AI. So that's kind of one area, the accuracy of the data. But then, of course, we touched on that whole nature of real-time data. So obviously, a lot of the advantage that we can gain from artificial intelligence is being able to use it against real-time data. So sensor data for pressures, temperatures, humidity, vibration sensors, all this data that's getting fed into our systems. The advantages is how you blend that data with a data science approach to create, predictive outcomes, or to be able to understand future simulations, if you like. We've got a great customer of ours called AGL, who have been using their real-time data to really enable them to reduce outages and optimize some of their maintenance. They tell us that this has saved them around 18.7 million Australian dollars across a 3-year period. But it required them to do the legwork up front before they could really get deep into the kind of AI world.
So AVEVA, you're focused on helping companies address decarbonisation and I guess wider sustainability challenges. And AI is a great enabler here. It'd be good to understand a little bit more about the work you do specifically in this space.
Maybe I'll start, Iju, and pass on to you. So we've definitely had customers who are using AI to help them with sustainability advantage. So we've seen some like the highest emitting sectors like energy, transportation, and material production. We're estimating, we're seeing them estimate that digital solutions like at scale can reduce their global emissions by up to 20% by 2050. These aren't small figures we're talking about. These are significant impacts that AI can have on the way that they reduce carbon. So it's actually really important that we listen to where they are seeking support. What parts of their business are the carbon creating businesses? But it's not kind of a mystery to us. There's this kind of tension between the AI power consumption versus the end results that can come from AI. And I'd rather like to focus on what the customer is doing here. So we've seen really forward-thinking customers in our industries that are driving down their emissions really significantly. A great example is Repsol, who've been using AVEVA solutions for some time now at their Coruna refinery in Spain. They utilize our optimization techniques using AI and have had a 20% drop in their annual CO2 emissions. So a 20% drop in the CO2 emissions for one single refinery is a massive, massive number of tons of carbon when you compare that to the energy which was consumed by compute using AI. So there's a big offset of those two values. And actually, there's a couple of things we're doing as well internally, recognizing that AVEVA is also committed to a net zero business ourselves, that we're working to try to reduce the amount of energy consumed using compute power, but also we're kind of getting our, let's say, our toes a little wet with some alternative compute techniques. I'll hand over to Iju.
Sure. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, I mean, I think we're also committed to kind of reducing how much energy our own software is consumed. We have a dedicated team in AVEVA that's looking at how to optimize this code so that it consumes less power. To give an example, like if two systems are close to each other, the amount of data that gets transferred, the amount of energy consumption can be much, much lower compared to when it is talking to a system which is far away or has to go around the globe to interact. So yeah, we are looking at a very minute level to see how our own softwares consumes much, much, much less energy than what it does today. And I think for the whole thing to add up, I think the policies are important. How much investment goes into all this is equally important as well. I think the Net Zero Industry Act is a great example, and I think it will truly drive innovation and also drive investment in carbon capture storage, and even on optimizing the grid technology. And the same is applicable for the European Commission is also set out, has a proposal for 90% emission reduction by 2014. And I think these are all like really great initiatives. And AVEVA can play a huge role as a technology partner for companies.
And maybe we can address the, I don't know if we call it the elephant in the room. I mean, in the short term, the number of new data centers being built to cope with these AI, these large language models, it's fairly power hungry. I think it was Google announced not too long ago that their carbon footprint, I think, had gone up by nearly 50% because of all the AI related sort of data center expansion that they'd undertaken. But I guess in the longer term, it's important to observe or point out that AI is going to make a massive contribution to helping address sustainability issues. Is that a reasonable description assessment of the near future and longer term where AI benefits kick in?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Iju touched on it. We're a member of the Green Software Foundation, which is an international consortia of people in the tech industry who are trying to solve this really tough equation, which is how do we get more compute with less energy consumed? It's actually a very challenging issue when we think of it in the terms of classical computing. So we're part of that organization. We have ways of benchmarking our products so that every time we release a solution, we do a bench test of its energy consumption. It's like those stickers you see on the front of white goods that tell us the grading for how green this item is. We have that concept in our own business, and our target is to grade A every single one of our products so that they are as efficient as possible at compute. That's us, I guess, taking responsibility for what we do as a company. But actually, sometimes we have to look outside of the borders of what we do as a software business, and look to the hardware vendors to see what's going on in their world. So I see there's a lot of talk in semiconductor space around more efficient semiconductor creation. But obviously, the most exciting of all of this is quantum computing itself. So we've been really focusing on trying to understand how quantum could be used for doing some of the heavy lifting, some of the complex calculations and simulations that our customers do, because from our understanding with working with partners, the energy consumed by a quantum computer is many orders of magnitude less than the classical computers we use today. So we're seeing a kind of a 5+ year trajectory for when that exits science and becomes regular used for consumers like you and I. So we're focusing on kind of those two areas, internally and externally. But as I mentioned before, really the worst predictions, I think, for carbon emissions from use of AI are something like 5, or even at worst 6% of the globe's carbon emission. And actually, the work that industry does in all of our sectors across our business is pretty much the other 90-something%. So anything that we can do with AI to reduce the much greater volume of carbon emission is easily going to pay off and prove much better than carbon neutral. It'll be very carbon positive. So that's kind of our outlook. I think it's a hot discussion, and clearly it's a concern for everybody, but we see its value as easily offsetted by what we'll be able to save with our customers.
And back to AVEVA, I know, I mean, I do a lot of work in the data center space, and I know you're now part of, I think, the Schneider Electric I call it Empire, whatever, but Schneider Electric. So it'd be good to understand, I suppose, how this coming together of these two big organizations, how that you think that will improve your AI sustainability focus, the solutions you can provide, and I guess also anything that you will be bringing to the Schneider Electric side of things.
Like you said, Schneider Electric is a technology leader in energy management and automation. And AVEVA is the open agnostic software portfolio of Schneider. And AVEVA is the market leader in digital twin and sustainability. I think combined together, we have solutions that helps in electrification and automation. And we have deep knowledge in areas like smart cities, data centers, and the open agnostic nature of it also helps to kind of, we can work together well and also work great with other partners as well. And the joint solutions that we have can greatly improve the efficiency, improve the overall supply chain, sustainability, the whole life cycle. Yeah.
And I know you've already shared some great examples of the ways in which you are helping customers, but I don't know if there's one or two more examples you'd like to share, and just how you are helping organizations to use AI to improve their operational efficiency and indeed their actual outputs as well.
Actually, just to quickly flip that question as well, because we are definitely helping our customers using AI for their operational efficiency, but I'm going to argue they help us a lot because we create the tech. So we have a good understanding of how to use the technology to their advantage, but they know their data. So if they want to dream up an operational future, they need to do the work to understand what data is required to make that. And so they're really guiding us with where the problem spaces are, because we don't intimately know all of their businesses because we operate in so many different sectors. But I'll give you a couple of examples where that's really been a great partnership, if you like. One is Aker Carbon Capture. Aker Carbon Capture are an organization who design and build facilities for the capture of carbon from the atmosphere. So in businesses like cement production, steel, and oil and gas. And they've been using our software in the cloud to do the design of these actual assets, so these physical modular systems that they've created, which are actually creating carbon from existing plants. So it's kind of a retrofit type of technology. And what they've done is they've worked with us to develop models for how to modularize that kind of technology, which is proven to reduce the carbon capture by 20%. So actually saving their end customers, if you like, millions in terms of their operations. So that's kind of one way in which we partner up, just helping them to deliver their value. And arguably, they are the leader in that space, and we're kind of really providing them with the tech to surface it. But also maybe in a different, more traditional business like Toyota, using tools for manufacturing. So they've been using our technologies, AVEVA Pi system, for many years, but they really had a problem, which was how to communicate globally in real time all of their plant efficiencies across the whole business. And they used our data platform in order to share and validate that data. And it's with that kind of singular data platform ideology they've got in their business that they're able to really surface all of those AI advantages. What we're seeing, by the way, is that customers are educating themselves over the last few years about the advantage from AI, and they're coming to us to seek solutions. And sometimes they really have a ready-made problem in their minds, and it's very bespoke. It might come from the engineering team, or it might come from the ops team. And it's, they have a really high value proposition for why they want that to be done. But we're also seeing in the last couple of years, organizations who are coming with us with a much more holistic kind of strategy towards AI. So they've really searched across their entire business entity and tried to understand where best to map it together. So it's more strategic. So it's not just a tactical solution for some organizations. It's now kind of raising its kind of level in their kind of thinking to a much higher level. And I think that's really, really encouraging when our customers are starting to project the value as a very holistic kind of tech stack.
And maybe finally, it would be good to understand a little bit about the future in terms of what AVEVA's plans are. I mean, clearly you're champion of AI and sustainability already, and busy doing that, but just be good to understand how you see yourselves developing as a company in the future, bearing in mind the focus you have.
So, like Simon mentioned, like we are committed to a net zero by 2050. So we are committed to a net zero by 2050. That means we have reduced our emission by half by end of this decade, which also means that, as we all know, like 20% of the emissions come from some of those few big industries like power and construction. So I think we strongly believe that bringing the data together, having a visualization which brings a holistic view of things, and bringing AI and insights on top of it will be of huge benefit for bringing a sustainable way of working. Yeah.
It's been great to chat to both of you. Fascinating to listen to the insights you've been able to share in terms of AI sustainability and what's going on at AVEVA. So thank you both for your time, and much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.